Hey folks, today I'm going to be taking a look at an older game. And I normally don't do that, but this one is coming up on a 10th anniversary edition here pretty soon. And I thought, why not take a look at one of my favorite games to see not only my thoughts on it, since I've never reviewed it, but also, is it still worth looking at today, being it has some age on it? This game has dwarves and elves and gnomes, but it's also a worker placement game and some city planning. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Belfort.
It's time for another Dice Tower review with Robert Geistlinger.
So here we're taking a look at Belfort. Now I know some of you are immediately thinking, this game is pretty old. Why are you looking at it? Well, the thing is, the game is hitting its 10th anniversary, and as such, I thought that that would be a good time to review one of the games that I've always really enjoyed. So I thought we would just kind of go through the basics of the rules in case you're not familiar with the game, and also just as a refresher. I'm not going to go into every detail because, again, this game is older and there are plenty of how to play videos on it, but I would like to still give you an idea how the game plays in case this is, for some reason, the first time you're ever seeing it. In the game, we're going to be trying to build buildings in this district, what we've been contracted to do, but due to potentially a clerical error, others have been contracted as well, which will be our opponents. The game is played over 7 rounds, with each round containing 5 phases. In those phases, we're going to have a calendar phase, which is the first thing, and we simply move the calendar 1 space. And you'll notice here that everything is laid out on these player boards. Next, we're going to have a placement phase where each player in turn order, which are these crests, is going to place out one of their workers somewhere. You can place your worker into this recruiting, you can put it in the king's camp here, you can put it in any of these guilds, and you can put it into any buildings that you may have already built out. Now, some of those are going to be free and some of them won't. Guilds will have a cost of 1, which you'll either be paying to the supply, to another player if they own the guild, or possibly not at all if you own it. Over here at the recruiter's desk, when you place here, you're going to be paying 2 gold to do so. The number of spots depends on the number of players. Since we're set up for a 3-player game, that means only the first spot is available, but we pay 2 coins. In this one here, we simply put our worker in it, and that will help us later in the collection phase. After everyone has gone around the table and passed, that round will be over. When you pass, however, you take any remaining workers you have and you put them out into these areas. You can put elves here for wood, you can put dwarves here for stone, and you can put pears here for metal, and you can put either or here for gold. After everyone's done this, we're going to move into the collection phase, and I'm going to add a few extra pieces out here just so we can see how that works. So I've added a few extra pieces so I can show you how this resolves. During the collection phase, we're going to do this board in this order. So we're going to go here, then we're going to go here. The wood here, for each worker you have, you're going to receive 1 wood. For each super, you're actually going to receive 2. So in this case, blue would receive 2 wood, and so would white because that is their super elf. Then, whoever has the majority of workers will receive a bonus. In this case, supers only count as 1, so the blue player would actually receive 1 additional. Looking here for stone, each one would get 1 metal, but because there's a tie for the most, no one receives a bonus. Here, these are in pairs, so blue would get 1 metal, and here red would get 1 gold. Moving down here, the blue player would now get to take, if they have available, an elf or dwarf that is the same. So if they put an elf, they're going to get an elf. They put a dwarf, they're going to get a dwarf, and they'll collect those. Now these all come off as we're doing it. So that'll allow them to get additional workers. Here, whoever is in the first spot will get to take their crest and swap it with another player. So the blue player could swap their crest here with the red player, and then they would put it gray side up. Because then, if someone else was in the next spot, they could swap, but this person would be safe. After all that's resolved, we go to pay taxes. Taxes is based on where you are at on the scoring track. So it goes from 0 to 1 and then all the way up to this final one, which I believe is 9. So if the white player was here, they'd owe 1 in taxes. But if they were over here, they would owe 2. And you just pay that from the gold in your personal supply. And if you were unable to pay a certain amount of it, you will lose victory points for each one you were unable to pay. After this, we're going to move into the actions phase. Now the actions, on your turn in player order, you will get to complete as many actions as you can or wish to do until you are done and pass, and that will go around. So it's not I take a turn, you take a turn. You do all of the actions you wish to do. Things you can do is you can build walls, properties, and guilds. Now, properties are these cards from your hand. So they will have a cost, such as this keep here, or this library, or this garden. When doing so, you'll pay the cost. So I could pay 3 wood and 2 metal, and that allows me to put that out in my player area. In addition, I now get to take one of my buildings and place it out into a garden in my district of choice. So I could maybe put it here. And that's going to be important for scoring later. In addition, you're going to see this gnome lock, which I'll explain when we get to that part of the actions. For building walls, that's these spaces here. You simply pay 3 wood and 3 stone, and then you get to place out in any wall that you wish. For building the guilds will have costs on them, such as the Sentries Guild that costs 2 wood, 2 stone, 2 metal. If I pay that, then I get to place there as well. And that means anyone going here to get that action later is going to have to pay me. So if red went there, they would pay that gold to me instead of to the supply. Next thing you can do is activate and reclaim your workers that you placed out during the placement phase on the various planks. So the red player placed here. Now you can do this in any order you wish, but you must do all of them at some point during your turn. So they could take this worker back, and then they would get to collect a gold from the supply, and every player with fewer walls than them must give them either a wood stone or a metal or a gold, if possible, and it's their choice. So I would get to resolve that. If I had any workers out on any buildings, I would get to also take their abilities as well. So if I had this here, I would get to draw 2 cards from this deck and then discard 2 cards. Another action you can take is to visit the trading post. Now the trading post is something you can only do once per turn unless you have an ability, a building that is allowing you to do it. And you can, when you go there, you can sell, you can buy, or you can sell and buy, or either or, just you can only do this once. For selling, I could sell a metal for a coin, or I could sell either a wood and a stone and then another wood stone for 1 gold. Here I can, and this is buy, for buying, I can sell either a wood or stone for 1 gold or 1 metal for 2 gold. Another thing you can do once per round is to hire a gnome. That will cost you 3 coins, and that is limited number based on the number of players in the game. And you must have a spot to place them. So I could pay 3 coins, take this gnome, and let's say that I built this, I could place it here, thus unlocking the ability that's on this. And this is a once only, where I can turn one of my elves into a super elf. But that is a once only. If I activate it and I can't do it, then I lose it. Whereas this one over here, if it was unlocked, this allows me at the end of a turn to gain an additional card. The last thing you can do as part of your pass, as the very last action, is to buy a property card. To do that, it's going to cost you 1 coin. You can pick one of the 3 face up or from the face down pile. You pay your coin, you take your card into your hand. If at that point you have over 5 cards, you must discard down to 5. Once every player has done that, the action phase is over. At this point, we're going to go into the scoring phase, or possibly not. It depends on where we're at in the calendar. If we are in any of these spaces without an X, then there will be no scoring. If we're in one with an X, then we will do a scoring. Now, real quick, I'm going to change a few things here on the board so I can show you how that works. Okay, so I've changed these 2 districts so we can see how the scoring works in the game. And I'm going to move this back here and we'll run through it. So you're going to be scoring 2 things: district majorities and worker majorities. The district majorities are going to score each district individually. And it's going to be based on a majority, but ties will cause people to go down. And the boards here will have it. So district majority, whoever has the most in there is going to gain 5 points. Whoever has the second most, third. And in a 4-player game, the third will get a 4 and 5 player. The third place will get 1 point. So if we look here, blue has 3, red has 2, and white has 1. So blue will receive 5 points and red will receive 3. Because this is a 3-player game, white will get nothing. Looking over here, red has 2 and white has 2. So that's a tie. So they will both move to the second place scoring and get 3 points. Now, if blue had had 1 in here, they would get nothing because they would be bumped down into third, and we're not scoring that in this round. For worker majority, you're simply going to look at the number of workers that you have of each of the 3 types: elves, dwarves, and gnomes. For each person in the elf category, whoever has the most available workers total, because you have taken these back, they will receive 3 points. Second place will receive 1 point. Same rules for ties. Gnomes are the ones that you have out here on the lock, so you'll get each of those majorities. After this, we're going to move back to a calendar phase unless that was the final 7th round, in which case we simply see who has the most points, and whoever has the most points is the winner. So that's a look at Belfort. Now, one thing I did do a text when I was going through, but I wanted to make sure and clarify is during the income and taxes, you did gain income for any buildings that you have previously built, those property cards, if they have a coin on them. It kind of slipped my mind when I was going through the overview because at the time we didn't have any properties out. I just wanted to make sure that I clarified that again in case you didn't see the text. Now, as to the game itself, again, it does have some age on it. It's hitting a 10th anniversary edition. And a lot of times we get sucked into this cult of the new, and some of these older games get overlooked. But this is not a game you should overlook. This is still one of my favorite worker placement, area control sort of games. And the theme on it is kind of tongue-in-cheek and fun. Even the rule book, it doesn't take itself too seriously. In fact, this might still be my favorite game designed by Jay and Sen, who co-designed this game. And it probably might be my favorite game ever published by TMG still to this day. So everything about this game just works so well. And at the time it came out, I was blown away. I was impressed by this game. I wanted to play this game all the time. And now, obviously, I don't play it all the time, but I will never pass up a chance to play Belfort. Everything in this game makes sense. When I teach this game, everyone at the table just gets it. I've been able to teach this game to gamers, to non-gamers, to even friends and family who honestly haven't played anything besides Monopoly in the past, and they understand the game. Everything in this game was really well thought out. So the player boards, it lays out everything. And just overall, I really love the scoring in this game too. But the thing I really love about the scoring in this game is that you can't rush out and get too far ahead too quickly, because then you're going to find yourself paying taxes. So it has this built-in catch-up mechanism that I really, really enjoy. And I love how you don't have to think about your turn in terms of I take an action, you take an action. I actually really enjoy the fact in this game that when I take my action during the actions phase, I do everything I want to do. It's kind of reminding me a little bit of, say, Terra Mystica, which was a game that I played initially the first time around the same time I played Belfort. And I loved these two games equally, but Belfort was the one that I was more likely to introduce to non-gamers than I say would Terra Mystica. Overall, is this game still worth it in now 2018? Absolutely. And do I feel like it's deserving of a 10th anniversary edition? Absolutely. But if you can wait for the 10th anniversary edition, by all means do so, because I'm sure that they're going to do something extra special for it. TMG has a habit of doing those extra little bits to deluxify, and I really hope this one gets deluxified. It's deserving of it. And if somebody you know already has the game and you haven't played it, then definitely take a moment and play this game prior. Overall, I hope you've enjoyed this look at Belfort. It's still one of my favorite games, a game that I don't think I ever see coming out of my collection, but I hope it's helped you decide if it's something right for you and your game group, or if it's a game you've played before. Maybe you've forgotten about it and now you want to play it again. Either way, I look forward to seeing you folks in the next review.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.